8 o'clock. Okay. Pedro? Is your volume working?
Yep, go ahead. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
welcome.
it is now, yeah.
Welcome to the Tuesday training session. Thank you for being here. So this is the Tuesday training for the Florida Level 1 and 2's course supervisors. So who we have on the call are Monica, Tom, Pedro, JD, Noah, and who else is on the call?
Joshua Moreno.
Joshua. And is
Nahala.
Felipe on the call?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I have Noah, Joshua, Monica, JD, Tom, you, Nahala, and your host.
Okay. All right. So welcome to the call. Everybody got it. And the call is being recorded. So welcome to those who are joining us on the recording as well. So what we're up to in these calls is to distinguish the distinctions such that each and every one of the level 1 course supervisors is able to be signed off on being conversant with the distinction, knowing the distinction, and being able specifically to coach participants in our programs in the distinctions. So the distinctions that we've chosen to look at tonight, and we're trying to go kind of in chronological order that correlates to your requirements to become competent, your competencies. So the ones that we've chosen this evening for reviewing are being in the stands versus on the court. And then if we have an opportunity, if we have time, to start a conversation around superstitions. And Monica is going to generate and create being in the stands versus on the court. But before we do that, Pedro is going to lead a conversation about what we're getting out of our calls with Gitanjali, specifically about the already always listening, or what you've discovered thus far on the conversation around rackets. So take it away.
Yep. So as you know, we've been, all of us, or at least all of us that are here, have been participating on the recordings or live on the calls that Gitanjali has been leading for all course supervisors. And we just want to, like, I was on the call, I've been on the last 2 calls, last Monday and this Monday. And, you know, for myself, I got really present to the already always listening in a new way that I hadn't really thought about before. So in, you know, for myself, what I've been getting out of it is there's a whole world of an already always listening that I thought was just basically just superficial. I thought it was just like, okay, it's a distinction. This is all it is. It's the world around me, and that's it. Good, I got it, pass, right? So now I'm really starting to look ongoingly the pervasive nature of it. Like, you know, I wake up in the morning and there's already and always a concern right there and then. There's either I'm surviving or there's something that I'm trying to fix. Like you know, even when I go to bed at night, there's something that I'm trying to fix, even when I'm dreaming, that I don't, you know, there's the whole world of the already always listening. There's something that's wrong and I got to fix it. I wake up in the morning and I have a concern. And then all of a sudden it goes away because I distinguish it. And then something else comes and, okay, there's something wrong. And that's like going on and on and on. And basically that's my whole day. So what I've gotten to distinguish from these calls, and that one in particular, is that I really, like, anytime I start seeing for myself, like I start experiencing that there's something going on, there's something wrong, I'm doing something wrong, I should be doing something else, I just like stop and like literally like stop time. And I just pause and I say, okay, hold on. What's going on right now? And then I see, okay, hold on. So what I'm noticing here is that there is an already always nature as a human being that's just running ongoingly. But if I really, really stop and look, nothing is really going on. I may be standing somewhere, I may be looking at a monitor, looking at people on the screen. That's all that's happening. The rest of it is the already always that's running. So it's really made a huge difference in those moments where I get stopped at something and then I stop and I say, okay, hold on. All right, there's nothing going on. And then I can just go on with my day. So I like really got that it was so undistinguished for me. It's just how life was, you know? So that's what I've been getting out of this. So I wanted to open up the space for all of you to share if there's anything you want to share about what value have you been getting from this calls or what have you actually discovered newly?
Noah, I just noticed we didn't split this time with the.
Can't hear you.
You have to speak into your mic, Noah.
1 sec.
No, I can't hear
Now,
you.
can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're frozen.
All right, now while you get yourself back online, anybody else would like to share?
I'll share. What I've been getting from these calls, both the Tuesday call we're having and also the calls with Katani, is more than anything me in that conversation of always looking, right? Constantly looking for where's integrity missing, where is it that I'm having that always listening, and it's allowing me to have or bring distinction into my life. For example, this morning I was driving to on the other side of town, which is like a 30-minute drive to show a property that I just put on the market. And I'm going over the speed limit, right, which is out of integrity. And I finally realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like this whole story or this whole, how do I put it? Me being late simply because my already always listening is present. And what I'm present to is this conversation of not having enough sleep, right? Like having too much to do, constantly having to be on the run, rushing to the next meeting, rushing here, rushing there, when really what is missing is me having integrity with my schedule and following the things that I need to do at the time that I said I was going to do them, so everything falls into place. Instead of this world that I was living in of I have so much to get done, therefore it's okay for me to speed. It's a different context, you know. My listening was that it was okay for me to speed because I have more things done.
Good. Awesome. Anybody else?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say thank you, Pedro, for sharing what you shared. And what came to mind was that I was having a conversation about whether or not we were supposed to do a bold statement of who we are, and or if I skipped that. And I just wanted to mention it to see if we could generate that as well.
Yeah.
That's
Let's go do
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll generate it. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So bold statement of who we are. The bold statement of who we are. We, the course supervisors, are given by a possibility bigger than ourselves, holding as sacred the integrity of the clearing for transformation, cause the fulfillment of our brand, master providers of whatever is needed.
Awesome.
Okay, do it one more time because there were a couple words you left out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's holding
All
as
right.
sacred the integrity of the clearing in which
Clearing.
transformation
Oh.
occurs. Yeah.
Which transformation occurs. Okay. The bold statement of who we are. We, the course supervisors, are given by a possibility bigger than ourselves, holding as sacred the integrity of the clearing in which transformation occurs, causing the fulfillment of our brand, master providers of whatever is needed.
Awesome. It's totally in. Thank you for presencing us to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else? Let's see. So the call on Monday was about, they were sharing about what people were getting. Some of the course supervisor had participated in the weekend course, which was the Landmark Forum for Reviewers in its new format. And there was a sharing about one of the course supervisors. There was just sharing about rediscovering rackets
Yeah.
and rediscovering that it was something about, Sherry, like, you know, when you're running a racket on something or someone, okay, it's not that you're running a racket, it's just that your way of being, there's a way of being that you bring to it with the racket that is, you know, it's like, for me, that was a new conversation. I hadn't even thought about that. And, you know, it's like, you don't, like, it was something about, like, you don't get the experience of being, I think it was like, you know, just like free or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was, Sherry?
I think it was free and whole and complete. It was Ellie
Whole
Bachot
and
was
complete.
sharing about her relationship with her mom and her other adults in her community and her home, taking on parenting her son and
Mhm.
how she has it and how she has them as they are, you know, not giving her a chance and stepping over her authority and so that her son doesn't have an opportunity to really be parented by her. And what
Yeah.
she got present to was that, oh, she's living inside of a racket, and the racket is such that it doesn't allow people to contribute to her. And indeed, it doesn't allow her any freedom or any sense of being whole and complete. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
It was pretty awesome. All of the sharing, I think, on rackets has been very interesting because in the beginning, when they started the racket distinction, there was a lot of vagary. You know, it's very vague about rackets, and people weren't really coming up and really spitting it out. You know, the one gentleman who has the business who kept saying, "Well, I'm just annoyed that, you know, that my clients don't want to pay me the full value," when he was just really pissed off that he wasn't earning enough money and he hadn't gotten a paycheck last year and he was making everybody wrong. And, you know, it's interesting to watch Gitanjali coach people and to see that they can really get present to the impact of the racket in their lives and what the cost is of running a racket. And to me, it's just extraordinary to and I got really present to how my rackets and racketeering is so pervasive. But as you mentioned, Pedro, you know, it's like, it's not just, oh, I'll run a racket on JD right now, or I'll run a racket on Monica. No, I run it on everybody all the time. A lot of my rackets. And they're grounded in, as Monica, I think, pointed out, they're grounded in our stories. And they're really set up to make us write about whatever that story is that we created so many years ago. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to continuing participating in these calls, because it's like bringing the possibility of the forum in a new way that I haven't heard before. And it's a good time because it's great because it's now there's a new world in how the courses are being delivered. And it's one thing to be, in a room with 200 participants. It's another thing to be, with the course leader in front of your face. Where there's nowhere you can turn that he's going to be away from you. So
I'm telling you, that must have been quite the experience with Mark Spiritos leading.
Yeah.
Were you on that, Pedro?
No, I was not. I haven't signed up yet. I will at some point, but I haven't signed up yet.
Okay. I'm assisting on the 22nd Landmark Forum.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to seeing how that's gonna unfold, and yeah.
Oh, and one thing we didn't really say, but we did have an announcement today that our courses continue to be suspended. And in fact, Landmark made an announcement today on the all staff call, JD, this will be interesting to you, that all the courses are suspended through June 30th now. So.
Wow, am I powerful or what?
Yeah. I'm telling you.
You took out the whole month of June.
Yeah, the
I
whole
was
month of
sharing
June.
with Sherry how because we had our call today setting up our course coach calls and the preparations and the irony and paradox of preparing for a course that you cannot prepare for, and just kind of like being with that. And at the end of the call, she asked if I had anything to say, and I said, well, I'm predicting we're probably not, we're not going to have a course. And sure enough, on the all staff call, not even an hour later, 2 hours later, that's what happened. So yeah, woe is me. Power JD.
Power JD. Well, you and a little bit with the coronavirus, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to give it a little bit. So.
Yeah, that was sarcasm.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Well, Sherry, given what's happening and the continued suspension of the program and us participating as course supervisors, what's valuable about this training is that no matter what happens or where or when, these distinctions are not going away, and it's a perfect opportunity to develop ourselves in these distinctions. And be able to not only get them for ourselves, but to be able to generate them with somebody else, to be able to support anybody. It doesn't have to be on a course; it could be in your life or anywhere in your life, anywhere in your existence, Yeah. So, with that being said, and if there's nothing else to discuss about the calls, why don't we move on to distinguishing distinctions?
Okay. All right. So Monica, would you like to start us off then with being on the court as opposed to being in the stands, or being in the stands as opposed to being on the court? Yeah.
Okay, great. This distinction for me is the comparison between being in the stands in your life, being an observer, watching someone else play the game, as opposed to you being the one on the court, the one who's in the game, who's taking action and having all the fun. I noticed that this observing or having opinions and judgments and complaints, which is, the more that we talk about rackets, the more we get to see what they are. I get that having that going on in your head all the time, and you actually listening to it and paying attention to it and staying out of integrity with yourself by doing that, you're literally not on the court at all in your life. And it's astounding to me how much of the time that's going on. When in fact, noticing that is the first step, noticing that I'm out of integrity. I'm not on the court. I'm just listening to my rackets. I'm just making stuff up. And I got really present to that this week, but the difference in my mind was I got to see that if I'm the good guy, like somebody said this on the call too, if I'm the good guy, you're always the good guy in the racket, right? It's always, I'm the good one, and this all other stuff's going on with other people out there, and it's about them. When I think what it does, when you get on the court, you really end up taking full responsibility for creating possibilities for your life, taking action, being in full expression, being honest and authentic, and getting present. I think, really getting present to being present, like being even on this call, knowing that I can just be here now, fully expressing what's coming into my mind and how I want to express this. And then fully getting that, what a difference that is. I don't have control over what's happening outside of me, but I do have control over my taking action and my being responsible and my being empowered for choosing what's happening in my life. This happened the other day when I got this idea that I could choose being in the pandemic.
We just lost your sound.
We did? Still?
Yeah.
I can hear her.
I
Oh,
can hear you now.
oh, you can?
Yep.
You, Sherry?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're having community connection problems.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like everybody is, at
Yeah.
some point, the video stops or the sound stops. It
Mhm.
must be the time of day and people on there.
Maybe a lot of people online streaming videos right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be. All right, Monica, you just want to finish up that last part then? I think your sound came back.
Just the idea that being in action and not listening to the tiny voice in your head that's always sometimes really loud voice in your head, being present to what's actually happening rather than what you think is happening. That's what it means to me.
Okay.
I think I got it.
that. So, said another way, then you're saying that being in the stands is more of a role of being an observer, where you're evaluating, judging, you're sort of in that already always listening, watching things that are going on, and maybe rooting for people sometimes, but also really judging and assessing and evaluating people ongoingly. Whereas being on the court is getting out and taking action, actually taking action that are consistent with your possibility. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's so is that basically what you said? I just wanted to make sure I recreated it properly.
Yeah, but I've noticed that it's more than just taking action. It's taking being in expression,
Mhm.
present, taking responsibility, and creating possibilities.
Creating the possibility.
Choosing not to listen to the voice, but to be in the game
Mhm.
of your life.
Okay,
Yeah.
got that. Yeah. And I think one thing that we need to be present to is that you can be on the court in certain parts of your life and in the stands in other parts of your life. It's not an all in, all or nothing, right? It's not like you're always on the court. We move back and forth between the court and being in the stands. One might be a very powerful worker and have extraordinary results at work,
Mhm.
and be on the court in work, standing inside of whatever the possibility that person's created. And then in relationships, you could be on the stand thinking about, and declaring, I'm going to have a relationship. I want to have a relationship. I will have a relationship, and yet not really taking the actions consistent with being in a relationship or, right? So it, yeah. And the demand, I think, out of Landmark is that you be on the court in all areas of your life and notice when you're not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sneaky because if you go to a game, say a Magic game or a Heat game for those of you in South Florida, and you're rooting for your team, you're in action, it seems, but you're really not. You're not really playing the game. You're observing the game and urging people along, but you're not really in the game. Those guys down there on the basketball court are in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed it in my business because there are many times when I think I should have something going on more than what's going on, and I'm not even looking at what is going on. And that, that I don't give myself credit for all the stuff I am doing and all the actions I am taking. And I always think, so what didn't I do? What didn't get done? And I just think it's often like you're judging and assessing yourself and your own behavior sometimes, and you don't see it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So is everybody, anybody have anything to add about that? Questions?
This is Noah.
Uh-huh.
So I really like this because in my life, I have been in the game, and the experience has been that I've always been up to something. It's just never gotten to where I wanted to be, but what I understood is that I was always playing a game, but I wasn't always placing forth the actions consistent with the game that I was aiming for. But I was always winning a game. It wasn't always the game that I intended. So I like the different topics or different things that were mentioned by Monica, like taking responsibility, or just being consistent with what holds integrity. I know that it's just been resonating with me because I've been taking action, consistent with the possibility that I've created for myself inside of abundance. So, yeah, versus just dreaming about it, which is being in the stance, which is what I've always done. I've been a dreamer and I've been a talker because I can be a good talker. Living vicariously. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And is that something that you noticed in your Landmark Forum or?
Well, I remember in the Landmark Forum, yeah. I remember going up to the microphone and the Landmark leader allowed me to be able to reach to a point where I was being inauthentic. I kept saying I was going for something. I was going to do it, and that I represented something. And really, I wasn't. I was laying in bed the whole time. I was just talking about it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Today
awesome.
I get to live this. So thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. All right. So do we want to do a mock with this distinction?
Sure. I think we.
How about Tom and JD? You guys do the mock.
All right, I'll be the participant.
Okay. All right. And what's the
distinction we're doing?
we're doing in the stands versus on the court.
Okay.
So Tom's going to come to you and ask for some coaching around that distinction.
I'm going to pass on doing this mock, please.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to step in?
I'll take the opportunity.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, Tom, why don't you set it up?
Okay, so yeah, Josh, I I don't really get this, I'm a pretty active person. I don't really get what they're trying to say. Like I'm always doing stuff, talking to people and seeing things, and I don't think this really applies to me because I'm a person of action, and I have a lot of things going on in my life. So it's not like I'm just sitting there watching life go by. So I don't really see how this applies to me.
Got it. So what I'm hearing is that you're someone of action. You're someone that has things going on in their life. You see that you're someone that gets things done and accomplishes things. What area in your life are you still looking for a result that you haven't achieved yet?
Well, I don't know, like, my business, like I used to sell a lot more. I'm a realtor. I used to sell a lot more houses back, before the recession than I do now. And I, haven't really got back to like that level. And I kind of would like to get back to that level.
So business, you're a realtor, you used to sell more houses before the recession, and you haven't
Yeah,
gotten to that level of production since then. Is that correct?
right.
Got it. So what I'm hearing you say is production, closings, income, money. We're talking in the area of finance.
Well, yeah, I mean, just like as far as personal production goes, yeah.
Got it.
So,
And personal production, that what does that equate to in your life?
well, it equates to one more house a month than I currently sell. And, if I were to do that for a year, I'd be completely out of debt a year.
Got it. So you've had the goal of having one house sold per month and to get yourself out of debt.
Well, one house more than I am currently doing.
Got it. Okay. And what actions have you been taking to achieve that goal?
Well, yeah, I have a plan, but I'm not exactly following the plan.
Got it.
I'm not making as many calls as I say I'm going to make.
Got it. So you have that goal. You have that desire to close one extra house per month. You have a plan to achieve this goal, yet you're not taking the actions.
Yeah.
So if you can look at it as being on the court playing the game, who would be the one on the court playing the game in your life with your business? What would that look like? So someone, think basketball, right? You have someone on the game. Kobe Bryant's on the court. He's going for the drive. He's going for the three. He's dribbling. He's passing. He's shooting. He's on the court playing the game. What would that look like in your life with your business?
Well, I guess it would look like, for my prospecting to be very rigorous in prospecting. My plan is Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 11 and having at least 5 conversations with past clients, prospects, people in my life about real estate a day. So yeah, that's what it would look like, but I don't I don't have 5 a day. I might have like 2 or 1.
Got it.
If somebody wants to play golf on Friday, I might have none.
Got it. So if Kobe Bryant is playing golf on a Friday, is he also playing basketball?
I don't know.
He can't do both at the same time, right? So he's either playing the game or he's not playing the game. He's either on the court or he's not on the court playing. So having a plan in this situation of Kobe Bryant on the basketball court is the same equivalent as the coach that's on the side that has a plan, but it's not actually playing in the game. Now, if you're not playing in the game, can you have the result that you're looking for?
No,
No.
probably not.
So if you were playing your game, which is following your plan of talking to 5 people between 9 to 11 about a conversation regarding real estate, Tuesday through Friday, if you had that week after week, what would your game look like and how would that equate to in closings per month?
Well, I think it would be a minimum of one more closing a month.
So would that mean,
It might
would
be
that-
more.
would that fulfill on your game?
Well, yeah, because I would make more money for my, what my goals are.
Got it. So now do you see where you stand as far as your game of real estate and production? Are you in the game on the court or are you on the stands?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I do pretty good in real estate. So sometimes I'm on the court and sometimes I'm in the stands.
I got that. So if I had the ball and I was playing basketball, I'm in the game. I have 1 foot in on the court and another foot out of the court. Am I not out of bounds?
Man, you're relentless, dude.
Am I not out of bounds?
That's pretty good.
I'm out of the game. There is no
That's pretty
game.
good. That's pretty good. You're pretty relentless.
There's no game there, man. And that's for you to get. You
Yeah,
got it.
that was good. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So are you playing your game? Are you on the court?
No.
Right? And there's also one more thing to get about that as well. Just because you're on the court doesn't necessarily mean you're playing the game full out. Right? The cheerleaders go on the court. The cheerleaders are at the game, but they're not playing the game. So it's one thing to talk about the plan, another thing to actually do it. So what are you going to create for yourself to make sure that this game gets played full out and that you win?
Yeah, to actually do it.
Right.
Like I don't really have to create anything new. I just have to do what I created.
Right.
Like take action.
So what can you put into system? What system can you put in place to make sure this gets done?
Well, I could have an accountability partner.
Okay. What would that look like?
Like calling somebody after, I have my 5 conversations. And if I don't do that, then there's a consequence. So
Okay.
I have to create with my accountability partner what that looks like.
Okay. What else could you put into play?
Well, I mean, I think that's the main thing. It's like there's no consequence if I don't do it.
Is that really so?
Well, I mean, there is a consequence, but it's not a big enough consequence to motivate me to do it, right? So yeah, I'll make less money, or I worry about money. I don't have my credit cards paid off and my car paid off, but that's not a big enough motivator to make me do it. If it were, I would have already been doing it. So, yeah, I can
Got
see
it.
why I've avoided accountability.
I got that. So what I'm hearing you say is you're not taking on accountability because the fear or the danger is not that grave, right? You don't have your car paid off, but you still have your car. You don't have your credit cards paid off, but yet you still are able to keep life funded. Let's
Yeah.
look into that. What would 1 month without a closing, 2 months without a closing look like? What would, God forbid, an accident and something not allowing you to work for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months look like? How would that impact you?
Yeah, it'd be a disaster.
Yeah. And it just snowballs from there, right? More stress, less performance, more anxiety, more depression. What else is that costing you?
Well, it cost me peace of mind.
Mm. What else?
Peace, just overall peace, quality of life.
Okay, awesome. So I think he got present to what it looks like to be on the court. So thank you for that. I think we all got present to that. So that was
Cool.
awesome. That was really good. And I think
Cool.
Tom got it just in that instant when he said, "Oh my God, you are relentless." And then he lit up. It was like,
Yeah, I was like, fuck, man.
Good work, Tom.
You too, man. That was
Yeah.
good. That was good. You know, Josh, I just want to acknowledge you. Like your listening of people is extraordinary.
Thank you.
Like you really listen and recreate really well. And I've noticed that before doing it with me. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. I think that's like the biggest skill you can have as a course supervisor is to be able to listen to people and to be with them.
Got it.
That's more important than knowing the distinction.
And you know what I will add to that, because I'm also in real estate as well.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
the phone calls. Those are the phone calls.
Yeah.
Having that listening with these clients, having that listening with those for sale by owners and expireds, and just calling them up and just getting present to what's in their life, especially in real estate. You know, people buy and sell because of major life crises. What's going on?
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, people buy and sell real estate for the same 7 reasons, right? Either there's a death, or there's a marriage, or there's a birth, or there's a divorce, or somebody lost their job. There's something going on in there. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know what? I'm going to move to Alaska. No, there's a reason that's triggering that motivation in that person's life. So thank you for that. And also want to see you on the court, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Cool.
won't be able to complain anymore. So as an enterprise, right, we exist to empower and enable people in those matters that are of interest and importance to them. And in the process, leave them transformed with more power, freedom, self-expression, and peace of mind,
Yes.
right? So that was a demonstration of that.
Cool.
Certainly. And as a course supervisor, we're out there on the court standing with the participants that they get the distinctions. That's something that Gitanjali has made very clear. You know, we're willing to sell them out. We'll get a little something and say, okay, that's great. Awesome. You got it. Send them on their way. And we won't really stand and drill down with them and have them really get it and take a look such that they're able then to go out and take actions in their life to produce results, right? So I think that was a good example and a good demonstration of that as well. Like you hung in there with him until he really got it. Now, as you gain more experience in interacting with participants, remember these are participants who are not graduates of the Landmark Forum. So at some point, you have to nurture them a little bit in that conversation and say, okay, this is really awesome. Keep looking at this. And, you know, I get that you really get that those actions are what it is to be in the game. You have to take the game, you know, the actions that are consistent with your game in order to be in the game, right? And so you just want to wrap it up for the people and send them, you know, send them out to take whatever actions might be consistent with how you wrap up that conversation. Yeah.
And I think maybe a little earlier to make a connection between me having a plan and not working it is in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were really good about being on the court, but like just tying it like how talking about what I'm going to do is being in the stands versus working my plan as being on the court. Like just to make that more concrete and more clear from the earlier point. But like,
Yeah, and you can have that be as a discovery. So what do you think
Yeah.
you're doing when you're talking about it, Tom? Oh yeah, I'm in the stands. Oh yeah, right. And then the light will dawn. Yeah, rather than saying to him, well, there you were in the stands. right? Rather than directing the flow of the thoughts. Yeah, yeah. So really good. Do you guys feel we need Pedro to do another one? You have any comments you'd like to make, or? Pedro?
No, I mean, I think there's enough feedback. I think I just have to say really what Tom was saying is that Joshua is grounded in listening, which is great. It's one of the best things that you can do as a supervisor, is to be able to listen and listen for. And I think he's he's been doing really well at that, and you are really good at that. So just keep using that in other challenging conversations. So no, but that's I don't have anything else.
Yeah, okay. One thing I did want to add, and this is something that we talked about I talked about with Nahala and Tom and Monica, is that as a course supervisor, sometimes when people come to you in the back of the room, they're agitated, they're triggered, they're in their heads and they're angry, or they're in a world of upset, or, they're reacting to something. So as a course supervisor, we have an opportunity to be the person who can be with that and who can actually help them to see what is at the source of their anger, so that they get to be responsible for it, right? So one way that you can work with is to have a welcoming statement that you provide to people when they come up to you. Something that will kind of diffuse them, if you will. And I don't want it to make it sound like a tactic, but it's something that might disarm them a little bit, or diffuse that sense of anger or upset that they're coming back to you with. Well, this just doesn't make sense. I'm really annoyed by this. If you want to come up with something that is your own, and then it will adjust based on how the person presents to you, but something like, oh, I'm so glad you came to ask me that question right now. This is like the perfect time for this question. Let's hear what you have to say. And really just be with the person and invite them to share with you, and let them know that you're thrilled that they've come to talk with you. So I don't know, we spent an entire classroom, a course supervisor classroom, developing this like opening statement, if you will, for when a participant comes to you. So I don't know if we want to try to do that now, or just go around the room and see who would like to say what, or if you want to think on it, and we can come back next week with the kind of opening statements that we feel would serve the participants, because it's all in service of the participants. We're standing that they walk out of the forum having gotten that life is empty and meaningless, and it's empty and meaningless, that it's empty and meaningless, and that they're free to be and free to act. Yeah.
I think what we could do, Sherry, is just do a quick round. And here's just to set it up for you. What would be something that you would say to someone, as a participant, that would have them, that would have them feel like welcomed, that they're actually coming to you to talk to you. So it may occur for you in the beginning, like, oh my God, this person's gonna come talk to me, and I don't know how I'm gonna deal with that. And then all of a sudden you could say, look, thank you so much. It is so perfect that you came to talk to me today. That's awesome. All right, bring it on. It could be anything, but something to, it's your like welcome. It's like your welcome line with them. So if you think about it, what would it be? So just take a couple of seconds here, and let's just do a quick round robin. How about that, Sherry?
Okay, that's good.
Okay. All right.
I'll go first. I think, oh, am I on mute?
Go ahead. No, you're okay.
Okay, sorry. I think I would just say, that took something for you to come and ask for help. And I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Yep. Okay, good, good. Awesome. Who else?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm so glad you came to me to talk about this.
That's
This is
perfect.
awesome.
Perfect. All right, who else?
Okay, let's look. Let's look together. Let's see what's there for you to find.
Awesome.
I appreciate you taking the time to come back and look for clarification, have a deeper conversation about what was just discussed.
Yeah. Nice. Cool.
I say, hey, thank you for asking that question. That's a great question. Let's discover this together.
Perfect.
I acknowledge you for engaging in the course. Let's take a look at this together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Dennis, you can share.
Hello, Dennis, by the way. He kind of came in the middle of the mocks. Welcome.
Here, where's Dennis? I don't see him.
He's muted.
Get my thing active. Hi, all.
Oh, hey, Dennis. Thanks for joining us. What do you like to say, Dennis?
I'm so glad you came back to talk to me.
Yeah, good.
Perfect.
You really
I've been
get
waiting all
acknowledged.
night for you to come back.
Yeah.
Good. Great. And do you all get the sense of like there's nothing wrong here with an opening line like that? Good. Okay, Sherry.
Okay. Well, that was pretty simple. You guys
Yep.
seem to be naturals at that. 'Cause I think it took us at least 45 minutes to come up with our opening line.
We're all very
Good.
friendly people.
Lots of practicing. Well, yeah, you are. And you know, it's like an acknowledgement of them, like, wow, thank you so much for coming to ask me this question. And I can't wait to have the conversation.
A lot of nice guy winning formulas on this call.
Yeah. Yeah. Winning formula. Yeah, that's for sure. And that will definitely come out, you know, when you're supervising a course. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, most of your landmark forum leaders for whom you're supervising and with whom you're supervising will say you're either a racket or you're a winning formula, and there's nothing else that you get to be. That's just how we show up in the world. Nothing wrong with that. That's just what it is to be a human being. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, all right. Nahala, do we have time for you to give us a basic introduction to the concept of superstition?
Sure, I could do it really quick.
Generate it and then, yeah, have people think on it.
Yeah, so superstition is one of the distinctions that we have, and I'm going to read just briefly a definition in the dictionary. And then I'll briefly talk about what landmark means by it. Okay, so an irrational belief that an object, action, or circumstance not logically related to a course of events influences its outcome. Okay, or a belief, practice, or right irrationally maintained by ignorance of the laws of nature or by faith in magic or chance. Okay, and a fearful or abject state of mind resulting from such ignorance or irrationality. Okay, and so what landmark means by it is it's, you know, describing a belief in something that we believe in that is not scientifically backed up, for example. And it's not just a belief, but it's a whole reality that we create as human beings. And then we live into that as if it is true and not realize that we created it. And as a result, it does create, it limits us, it restricts us from our self-expression. And what we get to do in Alignment Farm is discover that it is something that we've created. And as a result, it frees us up, and it also gives us access to being more fully self-expressed as well. Really quick, let's see. So yeah, there's no scientific evidence, but we gather evidence as we live our life. We, whether it's about how, we are a quiet person, or, just the superstition as basic as some things that we know of, like don't step on a crack, for example, or something will happen. A rabbit's foot will give you good luck. Other things is just in general, I'm not a lucky person, or I'm not lovable, or, whatever. Those are all forms of superstition. And then we find evidence for those in our lives. And that reinforces that reality that we've created for ourselves, that we continually live into, not realizing that we are the ones that created it. In a nutshell. Does that cover it?
That's pretty good. So how would that relate to, there's the superstition of I and the superstition of, what are the three distinctions?
There's the, what is it? The I and, the I don't have that.
The second one
Myth of is and I and problem, I think it is.
The I is and what?
Problem. That's a problem. Things occur for us as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a superstition. Hold on.
Well, in the competencies, it's listed as one.
The superstition of I is and problem.
I don't have the right one in front of me.
Well, we ask I, who is the I? Who is asking that? Who is saying?
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Sherry. It is problems.
So we have a belief that we are, Gitanjali's been referring to that quite a bit. Like there is an I, that that's who we are, right? And in fact, what is it, Nahula?
It's our brackets, it's our, beliefs, it's, our stories. There is no I, really.
Like you can't cut open a person as often as that and see where the I is.
Right.
Something
It doesn't exist.
And yet we live our lives as though there is an I.
Right.
I'm this, I'm that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty fixed belief, right? We know for certain that that's true. When in reality, it's a superstition.
Right. And it doesn't leave room for transformation. So when we say we are, we are this way, that's how I am, then there's no room for transformation. And there is no such thing as I. And the same thing with, like with problems as well. We're creating what we consider to be a problem. That's also part of that superstition, is that we're creating that and not realizing we're creating that. But we're living into it. And we have all these stories of why it is so and what's happening and things to
Why
back
it's a
it up.
problem. Yeah.
Support it.
And then there's just the superstition of is. The
Mhm.
world is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we listen to the news to find evidence for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all operating us. We're not operating them, right? We have no real power over them when we're inside of that superstition that this is the truth.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anybody have anything to say about that? It's 9:00, so we'll just make it a cliffhanger. And we can all think about it and muse over that for the next week and come back and share our thoughts and feelings about what it is that is the superstition I is and problem. Yeah. Anybody want to say anything? Nope. Well, then I'll just, yeah, JD?
Anything. I said anything.
Anything. All right. So thank you, anything. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing. And we'll pick it up next week on Tuesday. And there is a call at 9:15 tonight.
Yeah, I'm doing the online program manager call at 9:30, so I won't be on the 9:15.
Oh, okay. Awesome, Tom. That's great.
Yeah, I'll be on that one as well. I won't be on the Kandaji one.
All right. Our dynamic duo. Good team.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.